Before we jump into our wrestling talk, let's talk hydration. See, I carry something to drink with me every single place that I go because I am concerned about being dehydrated. It runs in the family. Everything from dry mouth, dizzy spells, fainting. It's pretty serious. And I've tried all the different types of waters and sports drinks. Let me tell you something right now. Liquid IV. That has been the most efficient at keeping me hydrated and doing so pretty quickly. Okay, Liquid IV has 5 essential vitamins and is 2 times faster at keeping you hydrated than water alone. And I'm serious, man. Everything from vitamin C to vitamins B3, B5, B6, B12. Liquid IV also is non-GMO, so it's free from gluten, dairy, soy. So for all you folks out there with food allergies, this may be right up your alley. And I know what you're thinking, but how does it taste, Duke? Well, it tastes pretty good. Okay, we're talking my favorite in pina colada. They also have tropical punch, strawberry, new flavors like sea berry and strawberry lemonade. You can enjoy this stuff, man. But don't take my word for it. I want you to stop what you're doing right now and head over to liquidiv.com. Use the promo code Duke Loves Rasslin so you get 20% off your entire order. I mean, anything that you order on liquidiv.com. So what are you waiting for? It's time for you to shop better hydration today. Use the promo code Duke Loves Rasslin over at liquidiv.com. Save yourself 20%. Stay hydrated. Most importantly, enjoy life. That's right. Now let's get on with the show.
You're locked in.
Look at what we have here, folks.
To the only show that matters.
The cream of the crop.
Duke Loves Rasslin.
And there is no one that does it better than
your host.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
The Duke.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
This is Dante El Jaguar Casanova, and you're listening to Duke Loves Rasslin.
Brothers and sisters, you know the River City Wrestling Con is just a few short weeks away, and it is incredible. This is going to be bigger than ever because not only do they have the top stars who are Hall of Famers and folks that we grew up watching, not only do they have the stars of today who you see on TV and what have you, but they also have these young, hungry lions and lionesses who are going to be making big names for themselves. And this guest here, I'm putting out a spoiler alert, okay? This is not a prediction, it's a spoiler, as Paul Heyman would say. This guest here will main event pay-per-views within a couple of years. That's how big of a deal I feel that this guy is. I'm not going to lie about this, folks. I'm very jealous of this person. So we're going to try to get through this conversation without me getting upset because he was blessed with a lot of things that I just don't have. Anyways, without further ado, welcome to the Duke Loves Rasslin podcast, Dante Casanova. How you doing there, Dante?
Well, first off, if you're gonna ask me how I'm doing, you gotta say the name correctly. You gotta use the full moniker here. It's Dante El Jaguar Casanova. You can't forget that middle part there. Very important.
El Harar. You got to help me out with that, man. I don't roll the R's too well there. El Harar.
El Jaguar.
El Jaguar. Jaguar. Okay, you're giving me homework. I got to work on this. What does that mean?
It means the Jaguar, which is a very important symbol of status in the Aztec community back in the day of my people.
Wow. Okay. So there's a lot of lore that comes along with Dante Casanova, El Harar, the Jaguar. So when you think of a Jaguar, El Harar, what does it mean to you personally?
To me, El Jaguar, for you to, you can hear it one more time. It is the status of the elite in the Aztec military / tribes, meaning when you were promoted or when you were anointed a Jaguar Knight, you were essentially the top of the top when it comes to warriors. You were a god in a lot of people's eyes. And that is what Dante Casanova is. He is a god amongst peasants.
We got to talk about this, and I'm going to just be honest with you here, Dante. I don't want to beat around the bush. I find it a personal affront against me that you are taller than me, that you have more hair on your head than I do, that you have bigger muscles than me. And I find it frustrating that when you walk into a place, the women automatically, oh, Dante, I've seen it and it's ridiculous. I don't understand it because when I walk into a place, I don't hear anything. So I need to know right now, why do you feel you need to throw it in my face that you have all these great intangibles?
I mean, do you expect me to apologize for being blessed and being born the way I was born and working hard for achieving what I have? Is that what we're getting at here? I'm supposed to apologize for that?
Okay, I listen. I don't want any problems. All right, I'm just a podcaster. I was asking a question. That's what I do. I got to ask the questions there. But your voice kind of raised for a second there, and I've seen you in the ring. You legitimately are El Jaguar. You are a Jaguar in there, so I don't want any problems, brother. That was a question. Okay, you're right. You were blessed with the gifts, and that's just the way it is. I get it. Okay, all right. So you were talking about your Aztec culture, your presentation, your outfit that you wear to the ring. I mean, I guess this is your war gear, so to speak. Talk to me about that. Talk to me about the whole concept of coming out with this, like letting folks know before the bell even rings, this is who Dante Casanova is.
Well, you put me in a ring with a bunch of indie schmucks and whatnot, and there's a clear difference of presentation and a clear difference in physique and a clear difference of how much this actually means to me by just the look of my gear, by just the attitude that I come in, by just the swagger that I come in with. This is not a gimmick. Dante Casanova is not a gimmick. I don't portray somebody that I want to be. This is not something I sat down and was like, maybe this is a good idea. No, this is who I am. This is my heritage. This is my lineage. This is what I was born to be. I am an elite amongst elites. I am a Jaguar amongst you guys. So my in-ring presentation and gear is essentially inspired by what my people back in the day used to actually wear, what they used to go into combat with. Back in the day, you would have to legitimately kill a jaguar to get armor. What is my moniker? El Jaguar. I'm out there in my armor. I'm ready for combat. I'm ready for war. I'm not here to mince words and play games with these people. I'm here to enter a battle and leave the same way I came in, looking good.
I've been practicing this, so hold on. Il Halawar, right? I said it slow,
Yeah, you
right?
might want to practice a little more.
Jeez, this guy's not giving me an inch here, folks, and I can't take it from him either because he might rip my arm off. June 9th, okay, that's Sunday. We know that Dante Casanova is going to be teaming up with a great friend of the show, Ray Fury. Okay, yeet yeet, Ray Fury, and they're going to be taking you on the Polynesian Express. So, River City Wrestling Con is one of the biggest, the best wrestling conventions on the planet. And I know that entire weekend is just one big great time for the fans, for all the legends, stars of yesterday and today. But the fact that you're going to be stepping in the ring and teaming up with a guy like Ray Fury against these up and comers, the Polynesian Express, what can folks expect, Dante? What can they expect when the bell rings there?
They can expect to see the next big thing in professional wrestling. They can expect to see the undiscovered gem that Florida wrestling has been, hiding. That's what they can expect to see. They can expect to see a massacre.
Wow. Okay. I'm terrified. Folks, expect to see a massacre on Sunday, June 9th at the River City Wrestling Con World Golf Village. Once again, rivercitywrestlingcon.com for tickets. You definitely do not want to miss this year. It's going to be the biggest and the best. And certainly the Jaguar himself, Dante El Jaguar Casanova, I'm still working on that, is going to be tagging up with our friend Ray Fury against the Polynesian Express. Now, I got to ask you, Dante, before I let you go there, because I look at a guy like yourself and I say, listen, summertime is coming up. Maybe I can look like El Jaguar. Maybe I can get the abs and the muscles and what have you. So what should I eat for dinner tonight? All right, just to get started, make sure it starts at the dinner table, so to speak. What should I be eating?
Well, let's backtrack a little bit. You said you wanted to look more like me. It's good to have dreams and aspirations, but let's be a little bit more realistic here. That's kind of far-fetched, and it's not going to happen overnight. Obviously, it might not happen at all, because like I said, I was born blessed. Not everyone's born this way. Not everyone has the genetics that I have. So let's dial it back a little bit. What you can start with is just looking at your overall diet with what you've been eating, because obviously, if you look in the mirror right now, it hasn't been working for you. So you might have to take a look at what you're eating and may have to assess, putting down the Big Macs, putting down the chicken nuggets and the Dino Nuggies and all that, cutting back on the soda. You know, Not everybody is built to have a great physique like myself. But we can start in the kitchen. We might, need to get some grilled chicken in you. Might need to get some broccoli, some asparagus, some peas and carrots, a little bit of white rice. It might be boring, but you want to have a little bit of a physique, you got to make some sacrifices, and we can start there.
Wow. Okay. Well, you just messed up my whole dinner plans there. I thought I was going to have a burger with nuggets and
See,
now
I nailed it right on the head right
you
there. See,
sure did.
I knew what we were going with, and I knew it wasn't going to cut it.
Maybe I'm gonna ask my lady if she dined me out. I feel like she told my secrets to you, and that's why you threw that in my face. I'm telling you, this guy, folks, he is a specimen, no question about it. But it's unfair that Dante Casanova looks the way that he looks. It's unfair. I'm just going to say that this guy, he's going to be all over TV. His face is going to be on all the products. He's going to have all the T-shirts. You mark my words. He's going to be a big deal in this business, no question. Dante, for folks listening right now, if they want to continue to follow you on your journey, because you're clearly going straight to the top, what's the best way they can do that?
Well, you can reach me on my Instagram. It's just the Dante Casanova. You can find me on X or Twitter if you want to say the old name. Find me there at _ Dante Casanova _ You can find me, traveling the nation, putting my talents wherever they need to be showcased. I got a plethora of dates coming up. Get your pencil and paper down because this is going to be rapid fire. We got May 25th, Lionheart Wrestling Association here in Kissimmee, Florida. June 1st, we got a big NWA Territory Showcase in Tennessee, which yours truly will be main eventing. You have June 9th, obviously, as mentioned, River City Con in Jacksonville, Florida. June 16th, we have Wentworth Brothers Entertainment in Sanford, Florida. June 22nd, we got Exodus Pro Wrestling up in Cleveland, Ohio, as well as July 20th. Same show, same place. We will be making our Wisconsin debut July 27th and 28th at Ironheart. Looking forward to that, if I do say so myself. We'll be back in Florida August 10th for USWA in Jacksonville, Florida, and potentially our second England loop. We're looking at it's tentative, but we're looking at August 11th to the 23rd, going up to England and showing my showcase over there. Putting on a massacre over there, and we're looking at a lot of good potential dates coming up.
That is Dante Casanova. Help me out one more time here. El Jaguar.
Well, you're getting it. I'll give you that. I'll give you a little. You're getting it. Just keep practicing a little bit. Next time you have me on, it's better be correct or just don't say it at all.
I want to remind you to check out Zencastr. Zencastr. That is my favorite program to use for all my recording needs. And the great part is, not only do they have audio, but they also have video options as well. So whether you're video conferencing, podcasting, just catching up with friends and loved ones, you definitely want to check out Zencastr. They have paid subscriptions. They also have a free version, which I'm actually using right now. Transcripts, the whole 9 yards, and even, get this, Zencastr has started to do hosting. So for all you podcasters out there, if you're looking for a host for your show, please consider Zencastr. You will not regret it. I'm telling you right now. Once again, Zencastr. Made on Zencastr. That's right. Brothers and sisters, we are continuing our celebration of the 8th year anniversary of Duke Loves Rasslin podcast. I have a guest who is literally a legend in Duke Loves Rasslin lore. He is the only person to appear on this show at least once every year that this show has existed. The only other person who could say that is me. So that's a little Duke Loves Rasslin trivia. Now, you know, Tony Schiavone is the only other voice that's been on this show, heard on this show, second to me, because, you know, we end each episode with Tony. We've been doing that since, I think, year 2 when Tony was on. But this guest here legitimately makes time. He's always here. Either he's sending in a well wish on our anniversary, or literally like today, he just pops up. So, without further ado, a man that without him, Duke Loves Rasslin would not be here today. Legitimately, he is one of the main reasons why we've been able to exist for as long as we have. My brother, my friend, Rudy Boy Gonzalez. How you doing there, Rudy?
I'm doing good, Duke, and thank you for the introduction. But man, first of all, congratulations on your 8 years. I think I've told you before. I tried doing this, and I think I didn't even do 8 episodes. so I know what you do is tough, and I know it takes up your time and stuff. And so congratulations. As far as Duke Loves Rasslin not existing without me, that's way false, man. You have a great podcast. I like listening to the episodes and stuff, and one of the things I like about it is you give everybody their time, no matter who it is. I mean, we both know people have tried casting you because of certain guests and whatever, but I mean, that's just that's just crazy. But I mean, congratulations.
I appreciate that. And I will say that if you exist in any space and you don't have people complaining about you, then you're not doing your job.
That's true. Very true.
So somebody should be complaining about you, because, you know, we're not going to please everybody. God said that man was made imperfect, right? So
exactly,
that means that somebody's going to have a problem. But let me just say this again, and I really mean it. Just like Ring of Honor, and I can say it because I was literally one of the people, and it was confirmed. I was one of the original RF video newsletter customers. So I was always buying the tapes and the DVDs, and the whole online community thing was still pretty new back then. And I was part of it. And we made chat rooms and message boards about our favorite wrestlers in the world and about RF video. And when they built that original Ring of Honor card, it was based off of the wrestlers that we would, as consumers, will request. We want to see the American Dragon. We want to see Low Key. Wouldn't it be cool if Christopher Daniels and Scoot Andrews? Wouldn't it be cool if Michael Shane? And wouldn't it be cool if this Spanky guy? We would request all of these different types of wrestlers who we thought were so cool, that were part of other compilations and what have you, from ECWA and Japan and all this other stuff. And they took all that data, and that's how they built that card. So I know that first year of Ring of Honor, if anyone goes back and look at those cards, a good portion of those cards had Shawn Michaels Wrestling Academy students, which eventually became the Texas Wrestling Academy, which Rudy Boy Gonzalez runs. But Rudy was the head trainer at the Shawn Michaels Wrestling Academy. Without you bringing your students and making them available for Ring of Honor, that company wouldn't have survived the first year. That's a fact. Now, let me bring it back to Duke Loves Rasslin. Rudy Boy Gonzalez, without you making time to come on the show during my first 2 years, sometimes I call you out of the blue and be like, hey man, can you record me later? I need a guest. And you're like, okay.
Yep.
Without you making time to do that, without you providing access to your students, without you providing access to Dusty Wolf and James Beard and a whole host of other people, I would not have been able to build this show the way that we've had, and really build the credibility of this show the way we've had. So I always acknowledge you and highlight the fact that Rudy Boy Gonzalez is legitimately, without him, this show wouldn't exist and it wouldn't have lasted as long as it has. So I truly tip my hat and appreciate you and will always give you your props on that, bro.
I appreciate it, dude. I really do. Thank you.
Does it feel weird when you know you've contributed to the betterment of somebody or something and you don't get acknowledged? I know you're not a guy that's always looking for praise. In fact, I would dare say you don't even know how to take praise right. It kind of makes you uncomfortable, right?
I'm sitting here right now, and my eyes are watery, but it's probably because there's a lot of dust in the room or something. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of dust in the room.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, and you know, I've had other people, you know, bring up the Ring of Honor stuff or whatever, and I never, you know, I guess when, you know, people have asked me, who do you think the founding fathers are of Ring of Honor? I always bring up Brian Danielson. I always bring up Chris Daniels, Xavier, you know, some of these guys. and then one guy, well, actually, I've had several people. Well, what about the TWA? And I'm like, no, man, we're not the founding fathers. But then when I think about it, we did some stuff with them for I think like 2 years or something, and the matches we had were pretty productive. We were doing a Texas Wrestling Academy program versus the Carnage crew, and those are some pretty intense matches, and you know, and then on the side was Brian Danielson doing his thing with Loki, or Brian Kendrick doing his thing with Xavier, or Paul London and Michael Shane and Biohazard, and I looked at one of the cards and I had, you know, at least half the crew was associated with the TWAS in some way, shape, or form. At least, you know, they probably had like 25 guys on the card, and I had 12, you know, 13 of my, you know, students, which they're not really students anymore, but I had them as part of the Ring of Honor shows also. And so I mean, but yeah, it does feel weird if I it would feel weird if I were to say, you know, we helped build Ring of Honor, but you know, but the fact is that we did, and it's kind of disappointing that now, like, you know, the way the Ring of Honor brand is out there, a lot of the older guys, you know, that started the deal are never even mentioned, you know, and that's disappointing. But I mean, it is what it is. You know, you just got to keep going.
Well, it is disappointing, and I'm glad you brought that up because Devon Dudley said something that I found very interesting. He was quoting Triple H. He said, you know, Triple H said that previously we weren't bringing back enough of, you know, people who had been in this company and helped contribute positively to this company and who, you know, they're not here anymore, but that doesn't mean that we can't bring them back and acknowledge their contribution. Why weren't we doing that more often? So
Right.
going forward, we're going to make that a focus. We want to highlight people who have contributed something to this company, and because there's value in that. And Devon
Right.
said he like, you know, really took that to heart and appreciated that because, yeah, why wouldn't you highlight somebody who has helped move the needle for you? So in terms of Ring of Honor, I agree. The fact that Tony Khan has never acknowledged Loki, like the entire company was built around that wrestler and that wrestling style. You know what
Well,
I mean?
exactly.
How do you not acknowledge that guy? He's part
Me
of the
and
history.
Me and Bobby Fish talked about that. I had him down here a while back, and we sat there and talked about it. And you know, Ring of Honor was basically, you know, that style was basically the turning point of independent wrestling and wrestling as we as we do today. You know, there are a lot of influencers that were part of those cards. You know, what another thing is we never, and I always liked watching his matches, but we never bring up. The Black Nature Boy, Scoot Andrews. Man, I love that guy. I used to watch when it was time for him to go out there. I used to sit there and watch his, you know, go out to in the back of the crowd and watch, you know, his stuff, whatever. Good dude, but you know, again, you know, no one ever brings his name up and stuff, and that's too bad because he is a good little talent. He was a good little talent, and he's a very, you know, outstanding individual in anyway.
You know, I'm glad you brought up Scoot because he's legitimately one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, and I can say proudly, number one, part of the reason why I was able to connect with Scoot is because of you. You know what I mean? Again, your relationship with me in this show made Scoot agree to come on the show. And since then, and I think that was even year one when I first had him on, since then, he's been on the show most years. And it's actually helped Scoot get more indie bookings, which
That's
has
good.
revitalized the way that people frame him and has made people go back and watch some of his stuff and what have you. So it's ironic that you say that because this show, probably more than anything, has at least helped reintroduce Scoot to the world and remind them that, yeah, this is one of those lost indie wrestlers that you guys may have forgotten about, but he was a pivotal point in the development of what we know today as pro wrestling.
Right, right,
Because he was in that whole Super 8 with the ECWA even before Ring of Honor. He was part of that whole stuff there. You
right.
know what I mean? And it's like that tournament, Ring of Honor pretty much copied off of that as well and brought that style over and enhanced it and what have you. But yeah, that's another guy that helped build that concept.
Yep,
So why will we ever forget that guy? You
yep.
know? It's crazy. One of the things I respect about you, Rudy, is that first of all, your first year in wrestling, when you were training and you officially became a wrestler, what year, was that 83? What year was that?
80. My first wrestling match was in February of '84.
February 84. Okay, so you were training in 83, but February 84 is when you had your first match.
Correct.
So, legitimately, you're 40 years in the business.
Right.
What I appreciate about you is that you're not afraid to adjust and look to the future. You and I have great conversations just about, hey, what do you think is going to happen next? What do you think people are going to focus on next? And to your credit, months down the road, I see you apply some of the things that we talk about, which is really, really cool because you're not afraid to adjust. You're not stuck in, we just got to do it this way. It's like, no, you know what I mean? It's time to have women in the main event.
Right.
And it's time to develop more wrestlers of color and make sure that we're showing more diversity. It's time to have somebody like Sabino Blaze, who legitimately is one of the more exciting stars on the indie wrestling scene today. And this is a flamboyant, fabulous presentation and somebody who has been training with you for years and really is fundamentally sound and is now getting that whole character work in.
Right.
People are going to be blown away when they see Sabino. There's something about your willingness to continue to stay ahead of the curve that I really, really respect. What is that? Why is it that you're able to adjust and to stay ahead of the curve, and yet so many others are just kind of stuck in one gear?
I I don't know. I just use the people that are around me, and I mean, let me put it this way. So my partner in crime, wife, roommate, teammate, best friend, whatever you want to call her, Myka, I have to put her in the main event because if I don't, I'm not having dinner for a couple of days. So, it's not like, I'm thinking maybe it's a good idea I have to because I mean, one, she works her butt off anyway, and it would be a complete injustice to look over her. But I mean, you know, she's worked her way, through and she's proven that, she can handle that spot. Um, and then, I put Sabino Blaze in the main event of shows as well because he's worked his butt off and he's proven that he can handle that spot. And, I mean, like you said, I'm not afraid of, I'll take criticism. I've taken criticism, all my life about different things. And that's all it is criticism. If they're right, they're right. If they're wrong, they're wrong. And if they're wrong, I'm going to prove them wrong. Um, and if they're right, then I need to fix me or whatever I'm doing that's not correct. I've had black, female, male, as main event because they worked their way to that position. I'm not doing it because I'm trying to be politically correct or anything like that. I do that because they worked their way through. I look at the wrestling business. Yes, it's a business. Yes, it's whatever you want to call it. I'm not going to sit here and say it's real or it's not real. It's whatever you want to make it out to be. But I look at it as a business. I look at it as a legitimate contest, And when I see kids, not just in their wrestling matches, not just in training, but everything. If I see that they're working their way through, and you know, they deserve to be in that top spot. And I tell the other students, the reason why they're there is because of this. And a lot of times, it may have nothing to do with wrestling. It just may have something to do with their outside life. Like, for example, um, I'm sure he wouldn't mind me sharing this, but like, you brought up Sabino Blaze, who is part of the LGBTQ community, and he's proud of it. When he finished training here, all of my students get a certificate, and so he posted on Facebook, "I'm the first LGBTQ whatever." He's proud of that, but at the same time, he's also very protective because he doesn't want to be, criticized, or he doesn't want to be, he just knows how people can be out there. And so, like, so for example, like, so one time we did a show um, outside of Waco, Texas, where it's very conservative, and that type of people out there. And so he was like, "What if they don't? What if they boo me? What if they throw stuff at me? What if they?" I'm like, "Man, just go out there and do your thing. Don't worry about it. Just be you." And so the whole week leading up to that show, he was just, maybe I shouldn't wrestle. Maybe those rednecks are gonna. I'm like, just go, just. So went out and did his thing, and so his little tagline is "Feel the heat." So he goes out there, he does his thing. In the middle of his match, the crowd starts chanting, "Feel the heat, feel the heat, feel." And he stopped and he looked around, and he had that whole place, that whole gymnasium, rooting for him, and going off, on him and stuff. And after his match, they had a little time where the wrestlers could go stand out by their tables and sign autographs. Man, he had a load of people just trying to get pictures, and buying his merchandise and what have you. And I told him, man, after on the way home, I told him, I said, "Don't worry about that stuff. People they're gonna think whatever they want to think, but you just got to go out there and be you. Once you're you, I know you because I train with you every day, and but once they see you in your wrestling persona, they see you in your wrestling world, you're a great person, man." I go, so just don't worry about that stuff. And that was several years ago, and it's taken him time. It's taken him, and I jump on. I give him some of that hard love. I'm like, dude, you got to stop this bullshit. Otherwise, you're gonna forever be nobody. You got to get out. And so now he's starting to get some recognition, and he's being offered some spots in Mexico, and stuff like that. And it's a start. A lot of guys, Mexico's the closest place outside of, there's Japan, there's Mexico, there's Europe, and stuff. Mexico's like 200 miles away, across the border. You're a star. And so he's now, getting recognition, and he's starting to pick up a little steam. But it's taken some time, and but he's doing well, really well though. I mean, I'm proud of him.
I love that. I love that. Again, shout out to Sabino Blaze. I know Sabino is a big deal out there in the world, but come on, Duke Loves Rasslin. It's time. Okay, it's time for you to come and have a legacy interview for sure. One of the other things I tip my hat to you about, Rudy, is that you have a strong belief in service, being a good neighbor, doing something positive for your community. It's something that you've always been serious about, and it's something that you make sure that your students who are part of Texas Wrestling Academy are involved in as well. Recently, there was a walk for autism, and I know that Myka, aka Sylvia Sanchez, over in Wild Women of Wrestling, I know
Hey
that
man, did
she's
you see what she did to that poor Sophia, that lawyer lady?
Man, don't get me started on that. Sophia Lopez is my the world's greatest attorney. She's a personal friend and my attorney. The fact that Sylvia Sanchez put hands on Sophia Lopez it just grinds my gears. And Sophia Lopez will return to Duke Loves Rasslin, and she's going to have something to say about what Sylvia Sanchez did to her. So we
I'm
haven't heard the
hiding.
last of this.
I'm hiding all my assets because I'm scared that Sophia Lopez is going to come back with some kind of lawsuit, and just because I'm associated with Sylvia Sanchez, that I'm going to lose some of my belongings because of that lawsuit that's coming down the road. I know it is.
Listen, the world's greatest attorney, Sofia Lopez, is coming for everything, including your school. She's coming for no sell Ivy. Okay, Ivy
Duh.
is going to have to work for Sofia Lopez in order to pay off all of Sylvia Sanchez's debt. I'm telling you right now, we're taking it all, Rudy. We're even going to take the shoes on your feet right now, buddy. We're taking
Jesus
it all.
Christ.
All right,
That's
that's what happens. That's what
that's going too
happens.
far, man. That's going too far.
But shout out to Myka, who is one of the lead organizers of this annual walk for autism. I think it's awesome that she can put something like that together. She was able to draw thousands of people this year for this great cause. But you folks were able to get the students, the wrestlers from Texas Wrestling Academy, aka Texas Wrestling Entertainment, to be part of this walk. Talk to me about that. Talk to me about your commitment to service and also getting the students to actually be part of this stuff as well.
So, this may be a little lengthy, but so years ago, I went to a private school and in high school, and my the kids were from different families, but there were some of the families that that could afford the tuition stuff to the school, and then there were some kids that really couldn't afford that tuition, and so their mom and dads had to they had to do two jobs, and they were they're really low income families, but the parents wanted their kids to have a good education, so they made those efforts, and I saw a lot of kids that we weren't. My parents weren't rich, but we never wanted anything because we always had my mom and dad took good care of us. But my friends were, they weren't as fortunate as we were. So every year, the Dallas Cowboys would come and play a basketball game against our coaches, and one night out of the year. Um, I would see, not just me because I was a big Robert Staubach and Robert Newhouse and Drew Pearson, Tony Dorsett fan, but all my friends, I mean, those were our heroes back then. And the kids that had torn up shoes and stuff like that, or torn up clothes, and that weren't doing too well. They were their smile on their face was as big as mine. I mean, for one night out of the school year, we were all we were all going nuts, and I always kept that in mind because no matter those guys didn't have to come down to do this game, but I realized that they were in a position to give back to the community, and they raised money for our school and stuff. And and I think I'm looking back, I think that's kind of like why I got into wrestling because they had a position and they had a platform back then to help, and they didn't just do it to our school; they did it to other schools around the state as well. And I'm sure other teams had stuff like that going on as well. So when I got into wrestling, um, what always took me back was watching the fans and reacting to the matches, whether and at the arenas and stuff, they were like the rich guys and they were the poor, families, and it reminded me of when I was going to school, and their smiles and their cheers or their boos were just as strong or as passionate as the other guys. So I mean, wrestling was that connection, and every now and then, I've always been a bad guy in the wrestling business. I've very few times I've been the baby face or the good guy or whatever. And that's fine. That's my demeanor anyway. That's my character. That's who I am anyway. So, um, but I always knew that there was a way to connect. That I always wanted to use the wrestling platform or whatever to be able to reach out. So like now I'm in a position to train guys. So like when I have kids that come in that can't afford the wrestling fees, I try and make it, hey, well, okay, I'll knock off this much money, or you can make payments. You can make payments a week, once a week. You can make payments for 5 years. I'll try and find ways to get those kids in because maybe, again, when I grew up we didn't want anything. But I had friends that they could barely afford a pair of football cleats. And our coach had to help raise money to get them, stuff like that. So um, I used my wrestling school to do stuff, like that. Uh, but a lot of people are also weary of independent wrestling. They don't know too much about it. They don't know who Sabino Blaze is until they see him. But in the beginning, if I say, "Hey, Sabino Blaze is one of my guys," they're like, "Well, who is that? Is that like John Cena? Is that like?" So they're more, people recognize the WWE guys more than they will the indie guys. So when Mike a couple of years ago, she got a job at Any Baby Can, which they service needy families, mainly families with kids with autism and special needs, and so she, I shouldn't speak for her, but she looked at it as just a job, just another job, get paid every week, every 2 weeks, whatever. But it didn't take but a couple of days before she realized exactly what she was into, and uh, before my eyes, I could see her change. The way she looked at things, the way, how fortunate we were to have no cell, and no physical problems, no, and all, I have three other kids, and no, it made me realize how lucky I was to have three kids, and Ivy, four kids with no physical disabilities or anything like that, and then we find out how widespread autism is, and it opened our eyes to a lot of things, and so she started in what is this, 2024, 23, 22. So she started in 2022 February, I believe. So in April they do a yearly walk. So they asked her, "Do you mind helping out with this walk we do? It's the Walk for Autism Awareness. It's going to be over here at this college." And she said, "Sure." And so the first year she helped. The second year she was in charge. The third year, which is this year, she was in had more control. And this year was the largest walk that they've had. It's a mile and a half. And so seeing that she had this, uh, uh, she was in this position. I suggested to her, why don't we get some of the wrestlers to do this stuff, so that they can understand how much of an impact they can have on the public. So the first year we had a couple of guys, that went out there, and the second year, I reached out to some of the other promotions. Hey, if you want to get your guys to come out here and egg these, cheer these kids on walking through this walk or take part in the walk. And then this year the same thing. The disappointing part was nobody else volunteered. It was just our guys again. So I said, "Hey guys, this is what we do. You can do it if you want." But I also threw in you can do this if you want. It would behoove me to do this. Um, but the kids, the students, my athletes, my wrestlers, went out there, cheered the kids on, took part in the walk. We'll circle back to Sabino Blaze. Wore his wrestling jacket, which has fringes and it's colorful, and he wears his makeup and stuff. Little rainbow on his face and stuff. And the kids gravitated towards him because he was colorful. He was, he caught their attention, and he made their day. I saw a lot of smiles out there that day, and then I had a couple of guys, a couple other guys that were, they didn't wear their gear per se. They, one guy, Cowboy James, wore a cowboy hat, so some of the kids were like, "Oh, he's a cowboy. Oh my God," that type of stuff. Everybody stood out and they took part, and they saw, we saw a kid who really had a hard time walking, struggling to cross the finish line, and my guys were there. "Come on, you can do it! You can do it!" And I don't remember what his name was, Mike or, but they were chanting his name, and he crossed over. When he crossed that finish line, man, his mom and dad were holding his hands, and they were happy. He had this huge smile on his face, and that's what it's all about, man. We're in a position. I'm in a position. Mike is in a position to touch other people, not just in the wrestling world, but in everyday life. Yeah, we can use our wrestling personas or whatever, with these kids and stuff, but it doesn't have to be in the wrestling ring. And so, I mean, that was a good deal. Later on, we took some pictures and stuff. I think I sent them to you. But that's when then I think Monday or something, the organization posted on their Facebook. This is like their largest walk they've ever had. And I mean, we had like the local grocery store HEB as a sponsor. We had several other groups that were sponsors, large businesses, corporations. Um, I mean, and that was all done uh, through Myka. So she's not just a wrestling chick. She's not just slapping her manager, slapping the lipstick off her manager's face. But I mean, she has a heart in there, man, and she worked her butt off. She got up at 5 o'clock that morning and literally got everything going. And I think they finished like at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I mean, that's what she does on the side. That's what her Superman, that's what she turns into after, when she's not Superman or Superwoman.
I love it. I love it. First of all, there's so much that I want to say. I'm going to start with Myka. So let me start at the end and work my way backwards. I can't express how proud I am of her as a mom, as a wrestler, as a human being. I'm so proud of her. I know that it's not natural for Myka to be the center of attention and to be out there, look at me and all that stuff, which, you kind of need those elements, especially if you're going to be a TV star,
Right.
especially in wrestling. So that's something that she had to develop. It didn't come natural. It's something that she had to really work at because ironically, doing the wrestling stuff has been much easier for her. She got that down pat. But
Right.
the charisma and showing that side of herself really took some time. And ironically, she has been able to then take her development from a charismatic standpoint and utilize that in this job that she has. And she's excelled so much and she's helping so many people and she's touching so many lives because she's allowing her personality to show more than ever before in whatever she did. So
Right.
that alone makes me so proud of her. And I feel proud about the fact that through the years, we've been able to document Myka's career, even at times when, maybe not as many people in the world knew who the hell Myka Madrid was. They
Right.
didn't know, there was no Sylvia Sanchez at the time, but we continued to make sure that we had her on the show. And even when she wasn't on the show, I made sure I was calling out Myka Madrid, by arch nemesis.
Right.
And those little things help keep the name alive. So again, when I can turn on my TV and I can see her, on that TV, major network, being the star that she is, and then I can turn on my internet and I can go on social media and I can see pictures from that walk from autism, and I see Myka standing there proudly with the whole group and knowing that she's one of the lead organizers of this annual event. I'm just proud, man. I'm very, very proud. And Myka, you deserve the praise and you should feel good about what you're doing. You're legitimately touching lives out there. And I'm also happy that Ivy gets to see her mom do all these amazing things. And as,
Hey,
as what's that?
hey, man. Ivy's just as much a part of this as anybody else. I mean, summer's coming around. She has 3 weeks to go. The first year Myka was there at that job, when summertime came, I had, SeaWorld and Fiesta Texas and going to the zoo planned for Ivy. We were going to spend the summer together. And the first day, Micah gets up, gets ready for work. and she's walking out the door, and Ivy's right behind her, and I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Ivy's right there every summer. That's her summer for 3 years. So she's 11 right now. So since she was 8 years old. I mean, that's so she's not only doing whatever Myka's not only doing whatever she's doing, but I mean, she's a great role model for her daughter. And that's, to me, that's just as important, if not more important, because Ivy carries a torch later on when she gets older. You know,
Exactly, and she'll do it. I mean, I can speak from experience as a son. Watching my mom as a police officer. She used to bring me to all the community events, and I'd have to help out at times, pass things out and things like that. And years later, when I was old enough to work on behalf of whether it be state or municipal government, holding community meetings, participating in community meetings, organizing community events that help people, it's like it's second nature because this is what I've always been involved in.
right,
So again, reflecting on Ivy, the fact that she gets to see her mom, she gets to see her dad, she gets to see all the people that she's around all the time, the students and what have you, all participating positively in the community, it makes her want to be involved. And the
sure,
fact that, so it's great. What you both are doing down there on many fronts. I'm proud, and I'm very happy to be associated with you and be able to see this stuff and highlight it here on this show. So there's that part. Now, I'm going to say something to the students out there and really to any wrestler out there. When you participate in anything related to the community, especially if you're participating as a wrestler, you need to show up as a wrestler. Now, that doesn't mean you got to be in full gear, but you do have to wear something like Sabino did that stands out and lets everybody know that, yes, this is a somebody else. This is a star. This is a featured attraction that's participating. You
right,
have to give people an experience. Those
right,
kids will never forget when they got a chance to walk with wrestlers, because it doesn't matter if you're in the main event at WrestleMania or if you wrestled in front of two people at your local gym. To those kids, you're a star.
exactly.
So give them the experience, man. And the other part of that too is you just created a fan for life.
Yep.
So it's not rocket science here, ladies and gentlemen. If you are a wrestler, show up to these community events as a wrestler. That's just common sense. So please, I beg of you to do that. And kudos to Sabino for being forward thinking enough to do that. That's good stuff there. That's really
Right.
good stuff.
And it's funny because I explained that to them afterwards, after the fact. But like, we were with the white Power Ranger guy and the red Power Ranger guy, and the kids were taking pictures with them and stuff. They had a great time. They did the walk also. But I told the guys, I go, the kids took pictures with the Power Rangers. They didn't take pictures of, you know, Mike and Joe, and the guys didn't show up as Mike and Joe. They showed up as the Power Rangers. I go, the kids really don't care who you are. You're just another guy if you just show up in jeans and sneakers and t-shirts. Be your wrestling guy, be your wrestling character, because that's who they're going to remember. And
Sure.
maybe next year we'll have a better they'll have a better idea and be able to dress accordingly. But that's a great point you just brought up, though.
These are teachable moments, man, and class is always in session. So that just gives you an opportunity to reinforce those ideals. So it works on all fronts there. And you're a guy who did it. You're a guy who lived it. You're a guy who believes in it. So there's no reason why they shouldn't be following your lead in that regard.
Right.
So let me ask you real quick before I let you go, Rudy, because I know that you're somebody who keeps his finger on the pulse. There are so many different promotions and people popping up all over the place and what have you there. As you know, this show has had a major focus on Florida over the past year. It seems like maybe a little bit more than that, maybe past 2 years. And I feel like I've inadvertently neglected Texas a little bit. So tell me, other than Texas wrestling entertainment and what you folks have going on, Obviously, we check in with Dog Pound Dojo and Dog Pound Championship Wrestling, so we
Right.
already have those bases covered. Is there anyone else? Any new promotions popping up down in Texas that I should be keeping an eye out for?
You know what? For the longest time, for the longest time, I would tell guys, I mean, Texas has always been a great wrestling territory, state, whatever. I mean, just off the top of your head, you can name 10 guys: Bradshaw, Shawn Michaels, Steve Austin, Tully Blanchard, Wahoo McDaniel, Bruiser Brody. I mean, you can list name of Von Erichs. There's three right there. I mean,
Booker T,
Booker
Stevie Ray.
T. I mean, Stevie. There you go. Undertaker. I mean, Ahmed Johnson. I mean, you can go on a whole episode of all the wrestlers that have come out of Texas. And then we have, Sammy Guevara. We have AC. What's his name? I can't even. Can't. Anyway, mine went blank. But we have a bunch of kids that have come out of Texas now, and so I've always told guys, get your name out there, get out of Texas, go out and. But over the last several years, I guess since COVID, anyway, um, pop promotions have been popping up and strong promotions. Like there's always been Booker T's place. There's a couple of lucha guys out of Houston. One is called Loco Wrestling. They're doing good stuff out of Houston. Uh, there's a guy out of Corpus Christi who they just got a TV deal going on. And then coincidentally, there's a girl out of South Texas, out of McAllen, Texas, who's got another TV deal going on. I mean, we're still doing what we do. Rodney's part of a group called Texas Strong Style Wrestling, I believe. They have a big event every now and then up in North Texas. They run pretty regular. I think Rodney. I think Dog Pound is doing some kind of um, weekly or some kind of streaming service or whatever. I mean, it's like you just throw a dart at the state of Texas, and there's a promotion making things happen, and that's great, man. It's so I was listening to your episode with the Florida guys, and Florida has traditionally been a great wrestling state as well. There's been the Grahams and Dusty Rhodes made a name out there, and I mean it's been a great wrestling state as well. My thing is, man, leave all that garbage to lead all the fighting back and forth and whatever. Do that amongst yourselves. Right now, we're in a great an upswing in the wrestling business that's being led by uh, WWE. As much as I see guys uh, trying to brag on AEW, I mean they're still running. They're employing guys that are making a decent living. Maybe Tony needs some help, on the side doing whatever he does. But I mean, right now, as a whole, wrestling is on a big upswing, and Texas is right there with them. Man, there's you know, I'm doing like a Friday night thing with my students. Um, I mean, it's a good time to be in the wrestling business, especially here in Texas.
I love it. I love it. This man is an ambassador. Okay. One thing about Rudy Boy Gonzalez, and folks, if you ever see our battles online, because Rudy and I are never shy away from arguing and debating and bickering with each other. It's part of the fun there. We could be bickering with each other online in front of the world, and yet we're private messaging each other and having a laugh about something unrelated. It's just
I'll,
that's the
I'll,
truth.
I'll, because I see some guys that'll like mess with me. What the f are you? What's Duke's problem and blah blah blah. I'll tell guys right now, whatever you see on online, if it gets too heated, because I mean he's passionate. Duke is passionate about what he's doing, and I've been doing this for years and years, and I'll tell I'll tell whoever unless you've done this, you don't really understand what we're doing, and you're not supposed to. I mean, that's just it. And then I'll get the response that, well, you don't have to do this to understand. Well, yeah, yes, you do, because it's a special mentality. If people, your regular civilian guy doesn't understand why. We'll just take the basics. If 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 a regular street person says, "Why do you cut yourselves?" I can't explain that to you. It's just part of what we do. But why? It's just part of what we do. Why would you let a guy hit you with a chair? It's just what we do. But why? why would you throw yourself on the ground, and why do you do? I can't explain that to you, and if I did, you would say, well, that's kind of dumb, because, and you're right, it is kind of dumb, but but that's what we do, and that's what that's what fans enjoy seeing. I mean, I just watched the Backlash pay-per-view, and where were they, in France? I don't know if they have indie wrestling in France, but it seems like they don't, because those people were hot the whole time. And I mean, whatever. Let me finish this by saying, whenever you guys see all the bickering stuff with me and Duke, I'll always message him. If I see it gets too heated, I'll always message him, just to kind of like let him know that I love him, and I do love him, man. He's a good dude, and he's always been by my side. And I just don't want to. There's a line in Tombstone where one guy says, "Man, you got plenty of friends. I've got plenty of friends," and the other guy says, "I don't," and that's me. I don't have. And so I think highly of Duke. And so, like I said, if things get too heated, I mean, he's passionate, I'm passionate. I always make sure, or he'll make sure, we send like a message, or something like, "Hey man, love you," or something out there that just completely is off base, to make the other laugh. It's just, at the end of the day, for me now, and then maybe it's because I'm older, but to me, it's just wrestling, man. It's just, it's not gonna, if I say something, it's not gonna change. If Duke says something, it's not gonna change the way the business is going. At the end of the day, the business is doing great, whether I believe in this or not, or whether he believes in this or not. It's just a great time to be in this business.
Agreed 100%. And I think that there's something to be said about that. You can debate and have fun, and it's like a chess match or a pickup game of basketball. You could talk trash to each other all day long and get into that. That doesn't mean that it has to ruin your relationship as friends. And I
I
think that
laugh. I
what's that?
laugh at the guys that argue with each other. They've been friends for years. They argue with each other, and then somebody says, "Man, I don't know what happened. He just deleted me, or he just unfriended me." It's like, you guys have been friends for how long? And that's just all the. And there's been some heated discussions with me and the Dukester, but all this time I've never unfriended him, because he is my friend.
Exactly, and that's the thing. You're my friend. Uh, might as well just say you're family. You're my brother, and you know, it's it's important. In fact, it's funny. That's a cliche in wrestling because it's real life. You could only hit your brother that hard. You know what I mean? You know when
Sure.
you see family members or close friends in matches and they're laying it in. Sheamus and Drew McIntyre are famous for that. When those
Yep.
guys are in a match with each other, they beat the hell out of each other, right? But
Yep.
you know they're going to grab a beer and have a laugh afterwards, and that's just the way it is. You should be able to have the most passionate exchanges with somebody who you care about and still be able to move forward. And certainly, Rudy Boy Gonzalez, I'm telling you, man, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you. I love you. And I'm so happy and I feel honored to continue to remind the world of your legacy. It's important to me. It's something that I will never stop doing for the entirety of my life. The world will never forget the impact that you've made on it because you have made a tremendous impact on the world and on me personally. So I appreciate you, brother.
I appreciate you as well.
Let the world know how they can keep up with Texas Wrestling Academy, Texas Wrestling Entertainment, the whole nine yards there.
Texas Wrestling Academy is on Facebook. Texas Wrestling Entertainment's on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. Rudy Gonzalez. It'll say El Presidente. What else is there? Same thing with Instagram. Texas Wrestling Academy for the wrestling school. Texas Wrestling for the promotion. Our Friday night wrestling that we have, Friday Night Chingazos. And that is actually, just throwing this out there, that is actually dedicated to a gentleman that used to run indie shows here in San Antonio on Thursdays and Tuesdays, and had me as his booker. His name's Gerald Castellano. I can't pronounce his last name, but he's passed away since. And so, just to keep his memory, he had me as his booker, and we bumped heads. Been being passionate, man. We bumped heads over a lot of stuff, but we still had breakfast on Monday mornings. Same thing, man. It was just, like I said, I don't have many friends, so I try and and keep as many as I can close by and stuff. And so if you want to check out the Friday night matches, it's called Friday Night Chingazos with a Z. I'm not sure if that's really how you spell Chingazos, but it's Friday Night Chingazos, and we'll put videos and stuff on there. You can see students that I have here developing. I've had a couple that have sprung up in the last couple of weeks. They've just been kicking ass. But yeah, that's how you can get a hold of us.
Till next time, be kind to yourselves and be kind to others. Take it away, Tony Schiavone.
This is Tony Schiavone, and we're desperately out of time on Duke Loves Rasslin.